It was the way he said it, soft, low, like a whisper he didn't even know he was giving away. We were tangled in each other, breath shallow, skin warm from the slow build of everything we'd been holding back all week. His hands gripped my hips like I was the only thing keeping him grounded. His lips brushing places that made my thoughts blur and scatter. I was lost in him. In us. And then he moaned. But it wasn't my name. It was hers. First I thought I misheard. The music in the background, the hum of blood rushing through me. Maybe it distorted the sound. But then he said it again. Louder. Clearer. With feeling. And he didn't stop. My body froze before my mind could catch up. Every nerve that had been burning for him just stalled. Like something inside me had cracked open and all the heat drained out. He was still moving, still lost in it, in her, completely unaware that he'd just unraveled everything we had with 2 syllables that didn't belong to me. I didn't say a word. I just let him keep going, let him finish, let him believe the moment was real. I stared at the ceiling, my eyes wide, my heart hammering so loudly I could barely hear his breathing anymore. When he collapsed beside me, chest rising and falling with satisfaction, I turned my head and watched him. Really watched him like I was seeing a stranger. And that's when I knew. He wasn't mine. And maybe he never had been. Say it again, I almost whispered. But not out loud. Never out loud. I didn't ask him about it that night. I couldn't. He fell asleep so easily, like guilt was something his body didn't carry. Meanwhile, I lay there in the dark, blinking up at the ceiling, replaying every second. Every sound. Every breath. Every syllable. Her name. Not mine. And the worst part? The way he said it, like it meant something. Like she meant something. That was the beginning of the unraveling. I started noticing things I brushed off before. The way he always kept his phone face down. The sudden quiet smiles when he was texting. How he'd sometimes say he was tired. Not distant, not cold, just disconnected. Like part of him was already somewhere else. With her. We'd been together almost a year. Moved in after 6 months, too fast, my friends warned me. But it felt right at the time. He made me feel like I was the only one who ever truly saw him. Or maybe I just wanted to believe that. I remember the first time he said, "I love you." We were in the kitchen, barefoot, still a little tipsy from cheap red wine, dancing to some old vinyl he swore changed his life. He looked at me like he couldn't imagine his world without me in it. Now I wonder if he ever meant it. Or if he was just trying to convince himself that I was enough. Or maybe she was always in the background even back then. The next morning he kissed me like nothing happened. Made coffee, asked if I wanted oat milk like he always did, told me he had a busy day at work. I smiled. Nodded. Pretended I hadn't heard the truth slip out of his mouth the night before. But it was already in my bones. Her name was under my skin, in my teeth, stuck in the back of my throat. And I couldn't swallow it down. Not anymore. I started watching him more closely after that. The little things. The hesitations. The times he looked at me but didn't really look. Like his eyes were searching for someone else behind my face. I didn't confront him, not directly. I wanted to see how deep the lie went. So I did something I'm not proud of. One night I slipped into his phone while he was in the shower. I knew the passcode, of course I did. We were supposed to trust each other. There were no messages from her. No photos. Nothing obvious. But the call log had her name. Just once. Late. 2 weeks ago. 11 minutes and 42 seconds. That was enough. That night I let him pull me close. I let his hands explore. His lips find the places he knew made me tremble. I responded, but not from the same place. I wanted to know if I could still feel it. If we could still feel it. His breath was hot against my neck, his voice low and full of want. And for a moment I almost forgot. Almost gave in. But then he whispered something into my skin, soft, lazy, half-formed. And it wasn't my name. It wasn't even hers. It was just silence. Like the words had no meaning anymore. I pulled back slowly. He noticed. Asked if I was okay. I smiled and said I was tired. He kissed my shoulder, told me he'd make breakfast in the morning, then rolled over. I stared at the back of his neck, tracing the shape of his spine with my eyes, wondering how many women had done the same, thinking they were the only one. I wanted him to touch me and mean it. I wanted him to see me. But all I felt was absence, his and mine colliding in the quiet. And I was starting to forget what it felt like to be wanted by someone who wasn't haunted by someone else. It happened on a Sunday morning, the kind of morning that used to feel like us. He was making pancakes, humming some indie song he found on a playlist I didn't recognize. I sat on the counter, legs swinging, watching him move around the kitchen like nothing was broken. Like I wasn't unraveling in silence just a few feet away. And then I asked it. Casually. Lightly. Like it was just a passing thought. Hey, who's Claire? I don't know why I chose that name. Maybe I remembered it from the call log. Maybe it just sounded right. His hand froze mid-flip. Just for a second. Barely long enough to notice. But I noticed. He recovered fast, almost too fast. Claire? Oh, she's someone from work. She used to be on my team. Why? Why? Because your mouth said her name while your hands were on me. Because I don't believe you anymore. Because I'm starting to feel like the other woman in my own bed. But I didn't say any of that. I just shrugged, picked a piece of pancake off the plate and smiled like I was still the version of myself who trusted him. He moved closer, stood between my knees and pressed a kiss to my temple. You okay? That question hit different. Was I? I nodded. But my chest was tight. My skin wasn't warm, it was alert. Aware. Every part of me wanted to lean away, but I didn't. Instead, I let him kiss me again. Slower this time. More like before. And for a second I gave in. Just to remember what it used to feel like when I believed every touch meant something. But the thing about pretending is, your body always knows the truth. Mine did. Because when he whispered my name that time, it sounded practiced. Intentional. Like he was trying to prove he hadn't forgotten it. Which meant he had. That night I couldn't sleep. He was beside me, breathing slow, one arm draped over my waist like a weight I didn't know how to move. I lay there staring at the shadows on the ceiling, wondering how many times I'd silenced myself just to keep the peace. How often I'd convinced myself that love meant forgiveness, even when I hadn't been given the truth. My body missed him. Even now. It's cruel how desire doesn't always die with trust. Sometimes it lingers like muscle memory, like an ache you can't reach. And in that ache I turned to him. He stirred, eyes still hazy with sleep, and reached for me instinctively. His lips found my collarbone, then the hollow of my throat. Soft. Familiar. Like he thought we were okay. And maybe part of me wanted to believe it. Maybe that's why I let my fingers trace the line of his jaw, why I kissed him back slower than usual. Like I needed to taste every lie before I let it go. His hands roamed carefully, like he knew I was fragile beneath the surface. And God, I wanted to melt into that lie. To pretend just for one night that I was enough to keep him here. I pulled him closer. Not out of love. Out of desperation. Out of the fear that if I let go now, I'd never feel anything real again. He whispered my name again. This time with more weight. Like he was trying to anchor me. And for a moment I believed it. I let the heat rise between us. Let the silence fill with want, with longing, with the parts of us that still knew how to touch. But then his phone buzzed. Once. Then again. He didn't hear it. He was too deep in it. In me. But I did. And I saw the name on the screen. Claire. Again. I didn't say anything right away. I just stared at the screen glowing in the dark, her name lighting up like a secret he thought would stay hidden. Even now, even here with his hands on my skin and my body barely holding together. Claire. I let the phone buzz one more time before I reached over and turned it face down. He looked up, confused for a second. Everything okay? I nodded. But my heart wasn't in it anymore. My body, still warm beneath his, had gone quiet. The ache wasn't want anymore, it was clarity. I looked at him. Really looked at him. The curve of his lips. The softness of his eyes. The man I had once thought would never lie to me. And then I said it. Tell me the truth. Right now. Who is she? He froze. The way guilt always does when it has nowhere else to hide. There was a beat, a hesitation where he could have chosen me. Could have said something real. But all he said was, I don't know what you're talking about. That was it. No denial. No confession. Just cowardice dressed up as confusion. I pushed him off me gently and sat up, pulling the sheet around my body like armor. I heard you, I whispered. That night. You said her name. Twice. And you didn't stop. His face changed. Not shock. Not regret. Just fear. Because he knew I wasn't asking anymore. I was leaving. He reached for me, but it was too late. My body didn't respond the way it used to. No shiver. No pull. Just stillness. I stood up and gathered my clothes, my fingers steady, my breath calm. You don't get to use my body to forget someone else, I said. Not again. And before he could say another word, I walked out of the room that had once felt like home. Into the night. Into the unknown. But for the first time in weeks, I finally felt like me again.